Well, I've tried about 3 times to do this. I'm going to give it another shot. This is just a quick synopsis of the different variances that we have experienced in this class. This company makes pumps, and they expected to use 100,000 direct labor hours this month. Well, that means something to us here. These are the standard quantities and prices they gave us. So the fixed overhead is applied at a rate of $5 per direct labor hour. So 100,000 direct labor hours tells me that their budgeted fixed overhead is $500,000. 100,000 times $5, $500,000. That's an important piece of information we'll need in a minute. And I've taken all the data that's in this little box and I've put it down in a table so I can use it in my equations. Actual production was 22,000 pumps this month. They expect to produce, the budgeted production is 25,000 pumps right there. And you can do a little math there if you want to, and that is if you have a $5 application rate per direct labor hour times 4 hours per pump times 25,000 budgeted pumps, and you get $500,000 as your budgeted fixed overhead. So thought that just reconfirms what we just knew a minute ago. Anyway, they budgeted 25,000 pumps for production. They actually used 382,000 pounds of material. Their direct labor cost for the month was $940,000. They used 94,000 direct labor hours. That's going to be important as we apply these variances. Variable overhead incurred was 740,000. Fixed overhead incurred was $540,000. They purchased 500,000 pounds of material at for $2,750 purchased cost. So the cost per pound is $5.50. Don't know if I'll use that, but you know, we might. So there's all the data. I think that'll help me get everything done. We're going to use the materials price variance based on the amount of material purchased. So they gave us the actual cost, $2,750,000 worth of material were purchased. The actual material purchased times the standard rate, that's 500,000 pounds of material purchased at a standard price of $6 a pound. You can see that happening right there. Is $3 million. So we have a $250,000 favorable materials price variance. We paid less than we budgeted. The materials usage variance is based on the number of pumps produced and the number of pounds used. Actual usage of material was 382,000 pounds times the standard price of $6 gives me $2,292,000. The standard usage is 15 pounds, and if we produce 22,000 pumps and we have standard price is $6 a pound, we come up with $1,980,000 for the standard, which is a $312,000 unfavorable variance. We're going to hide a few rows here to make it easier to follow. The labor variances, we start out with the actual hours times the actual rate. In this case, we know that happens to be $940,000. The actual direct labor hours are 94,000 hours times the standard rate of $9 an hour. So that's $846,000. So we have an unfavorable variance there of 94,000. I don't like that coincidence, but it's still the same as that number. It just happens to be a weird coincidence. Labor efficiency variances, we're going to compare that number, 846,000. We're going to compare it to the standard direct labor hours for the pumps produced times the standard rate. We know the standard rate is $9. The standard direct labor hours per pump is 22,000 pumps. And you can see that happens. And that gives us $792,000 standard labor for the standard labor cost for the amount of pumps produced, and gives us a $54,000 unfavorable labor efficiency variance. We're going to go to the overhead variances now. The variable overhead spending variance, we take our actual spending, which you would think of it as the actual rate, whatever that is, times the direct labor hours, but that's not the way it works. It's just we kind of just have to know actual spending on this guy. We can't figure it out from something else, as far as I know. So actual spending is just what they gave us, $740,000. Now we take the actual cost driver. The amount of the actual cost driver is the hours, because variable overhead is based on direct labor hours. So 994,000 direct labor hours times my standard rate of $8 per direct labor hour gives me $752,000. We have a $12,000 favorable variance. We compare this $752,000 to the standard overhead for the amount of pumps we produced, which would be $8 per direct labor hour times 4 direct labor hours times 22,000 pumps. You see that happening there. Gives me $704,000 that would be at standard. This is a $48,000 unfavorable efficiency variance for variable overhead. Fixed overhead is a little bit different than the rest of them. Just like variable overhead is somewhat different, fixed overhead becomes weird to me. It is what it is. The actual spending they gave us was $540,000. The budgeted fixed overhead, this is the amount they expected to spend, $500,000 right there. So we have an unfavorable variance of $40,000. Now we're going to compare this to the standard fixed overhead that would be applied. This is the basically applied overhead at this point. So it's the standard direct labor hours, which is 4 direct labor hours, times the standard rate times the number of pumps produced. And that gives us $440,000 and a $60,000 unfavorable fixed overhead variance. And I think that that concludes all the different variances. So now you've seen all the variances one more time. We had the materials price variance, the materials usage variance, and I put them on different levels when we're not using the same pounds of material for the price variance and the usage variance. For the price variance, I'm using all the material I purchased, which was 500,000 pounds of material purchased this month. For the usage variance, I'm starting out with this actual usage of 382,000 pounds this month. So that's why I put them on different levels. If in this book, most of the time we use the same number. We'll just use the usage, and so I'd put these on the same level at that point, because these two numbers would be the same. But right here, these two numbers are different because of the volume we're doing. That's volume of purchases versus the volume of usage. Labor rate variance, labor efficiency variance, variable overhead spending variance, variable overhead efficiency variance. And this efficiency variance here, if direct labor hours or direct labor anything almost is going to be the cost driver, then the efficiency variance will follow the labor efficiency variance as well. If it's machine hours, all bets are off on that one. And this is the fixed overhead spending variance, which is the actual spending versus budgeted spending. And then the fixed overhead volume variance, which is the budgeted fixed overhead versus the applied overhead and we apply overhead based on standard hours for the number of units we produced. Okay, I hope that helps.